On behalf of Sustainability Reporting Standard Board of ICAI, I, Jyoti Singh, extend a warm welcome to all of you to the 20th session of our webinar series, Demystifying Sustainability, Catalyzing Growth. Today's session is centered around a critical theme, social impact measurement and reporting. We are honored to have with us our esteemed speaker, Mr. Najid Narmawala ji, and our moderator for today, CA Priyal Karani ji and CA Rupesh Morabai ji. Let us now begin. I would like to invite CA Priyal Karani ji to kindly take the session forward.
Mr. Najid Narmawala is an experienced sustainability professional with more than 13 years of experience. He is a firm believer in sustainable development and has pollinated ESG strategies across organizations, leading to value creation. He has led various engagements on strategy, impact, implementation, disclosure, and rating for larger conglomerates, private or listed companies, large PSUs, multilateral organizations, and governments. His technical and strategizing skills have helped many companies in driving their ESG agenda and enhance their ESG ratings. Recently, one of his clients got recognized as Global Sector Leader in Office Development from GRESB 99 on 100 and a global leader in DJSI Yearbook 2025. Also, he has contributed to drafting of SSEAE 3000 Sustainability Assurance Standards for ICA and has conducted many seminars, panel discussions, and thought leadership sessions on sustainability. I welcome Mr. Najid Narmawala, sir. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Priyal. I hope I am audible and clear. Priyal, I am audible and clear.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So thank you so much for the opportunity to be part of this session. There are only 8 participants who have participated. Should we wait for some time for people to join, or can we start?
Sir, they have joined through other medium. So Zoom is only for the host and the panelists. Rest of the people have joined through the live stream.
Okay. Then I will just share my screen. Okay, so with this, let's start this session today. Today, we have gathered to understand the S part, which is the social part in ESG. For everyone who has joined the session today, thank you for making time. And today's session, we are trying to focus on the social aspect in sustainability, social aspect in terms of the impacts, in terms of the requirements, in terms of the growing concerns. All of it we are trying to cover today. We have 2 hours in hand. I will try to cover everything that I have created in 1 hour 30 minutes or 1 hour 45 minutes, so that last 15-20 minutes is something that we can use for your question and answers. So ESG, you all would have heard a lot about this particular specific topic related to sustainability, which is environment, social governance, ESG. This particular word was coined very recently. However, this subject of sustainability has been practiced for ages, and our country, practices, which is the practices that we have been following since ages, are all aligned to sustainable ways of living. We have our traditional ways of working, following the sustainability pattern. As Indians, we are very keen on making sure that we make the utmost use of the material that we have. We will make sure that we will not throw off the waste unless it is upcycled or used to its maximum potential. It is all nothing but leading to the sustainable ways of living. That was further clarified for industries and organizations using the terminology called ESG, environment, social, governance. Environment is primarily focusing on the environmental impacts through your organizational activities. Social is the relationships that the organization needs to cater to for their operational requirements. All the different stakeholders, we'll talk more about it. Governance is nothing but how can the organization's environmental and social impact be in control. That is the governance. There are various frameworks talking about it. There are global frameworks. There are Indian regulations also, which is related to BRSR that talks about it. So nowadays, sorry, not visible. Okay, 1 second. Now, okay. All right. So yeah, I was trying to say that the terminologies on ESG are now gaining more and more weightages. There are a lot of influences from the Western world that is also driving sustainability because honestly, they were the ones who started the pollution from industrial era to today. They have been the most culprit in doing pollution. India or China or other developing countries have been catching up. As a country, India is also growing very very fast, and hence the focus as a country is that our growth should be responsible or our growth should be sustainable, and hence a lot of talks on ESG sustainability is getting more and more momentum. These days, ESG sustainability is a specific topic that gets discussed in the company's board also. Very specifically, companies have created committees to focus on ESG and sustainability within their organizations. So that's the kind of importance that ESG is now getting. And specifically from the finance profession point of view, yeah, the chartered accountants who are responsible to manage the financials and be responsible for the financials of the company play a significant role in understanding how this ESG related impacts translate into the financial gains. So today we'll talk something related to these aspects. We will understand the social aspect. We will understand chartered accountants' role into ESG and the specific social aspects. And with that, let's move on to the next slide, which is focusing on the different aspects of ESG, where and how different departments within the organization have a role to play in ESG. ESG is not a particular person or a team's job or responsibility, as there are operation and administrative team, legal and compliance, company secretary team, marketing and communication, human resource, finance, supply chain, logistics. There is not necessary a ESG team required to run the ESG function. Yes, ESG responsible person can be appointed at a top level to manage the ESG related activities, but it's the responsibility of all the departments. There is certain thing in ESG which every department has to work on, be it the CSR, security department, IT department, investor relation department, EHS department, so customer service department. Every department has a particular role. I'm not going in the detail, but trying to just give you an idea that when in an organization, ESG is something that needs to be practiced. It's the collective responsibility of all the departments to work on this particular subject and be responsible for. Yes, the ESG responsible person, the chief sustainability officer or ESG lead, whoever you appoint, can manage and oversight the ESG related activities being implemented in different departments. But there are different departments who have to take the responsibility for it, for their particular subject matter. Now, today's topic, S in ESG. So you would have heard a lot about the other aspects in ESG and specific topics that have been covered as part of the webinars. Today we are going to delve into S in ESG. S is social. Social is relationship, and this topic of social, related interventions started way back in 1984 when the Bhopal gas tragedy struck. We were caught, blindfolded that such industrial catastrophes can also impact the ways in which humans live, the ways in which the industries operate. So from there are a lot of discussions happened, a lot of rules and regulations started to come up. There was a commission that happened in Brutland where first time sustainability as a word was used, that how can organizations and countries and civilization be more and more sustainable. From there, UN climate convention was created. Then there are various Indian rules and regulations that got carved out related to Environment Act, Industrial Water Pollution Act, Air Act, social security related acts. Global activities also kept on happening, like the GRI standard was developed. GRI standard is the mother of sustainability reporting globally. They were the first one to come up with a standard on sustainability reporting for organizations globally. Yes, it has been updated various times in the recent course of time, but yes, there was one major milestone on defining how sustainability can be reported. Then there was Kyoto Protocol that was signed, which was primarily from carbon credits point of view. The carbon credit market got established. Yes, it was an important revenue generation model for certain companies who were in saving carbon related initiatives, and they made a lot of revenue, but then that market collapsed. But today, recently, in the last COP event, it has again been recognized that the carbon market needs to be revived, and Article 4.2 has been introduced, where regulated carbon market will be introduced at country by country. Every country will have its mechanism to trade carbon, like we are trading shares of in different companies in the stock market. There will be a carbon market where carbon potential savings will be traded between the companies. Detailed discussion can happen later, but just to give an idea. Then PRI got introduced. PRI was specifically introduced for investors. How can the investors become more and more responsible in funding their investments to different uh, sorry to different organizations or countries which require these funds. So recently, just to cut it short, India has adopted BRSR principle, which is driven by SEBI. The BRSR principle's main agenda is to drive sustainability in Indian organizations, and they have started this initiative with top 1,000 listed companies in India. These BRSR requirements have ESG requirements in different forms of principles that they have defined. Today, being the topic on social, these are the aspects which the social aspect of BRSR tries to cover in significant detail. These are also mandatory requirements from BRSR to be published in their annual reports for the top 1,000 listed companies. For the BRSR, core parameters are also required for the top 250 companies to get it assured by a independent third party assessor. Now, what we are trying to say is that these social parameters, related to employee well-being, gender diversity, openness of business, fairness in engaging with customers and suppliers, inclusive development, are specifically the aspects which BRSR is driving from the social point of view. From the environment point of view, GHG footprint, water footprint, energy footprint, waste management is something that the BRSR is focusing. Why I'm trying to bring over the specific focus on this is India. In India, these topics are now mandatory on social aspect. So as a responsible organization, the companies need to focus on these specific social areas on a mandatory basis, and also has to prepare and keep maintaining the record so that it can be assured. It can be subject to assurance. Now, social aspect has always to be seen from two mindsets or two specific set of stakeholders: the internal stakeholders and the external stakeholders. Internal stakeholders are your employees and the workers who are part of your organization. They need to be socially taken care Also, the external stakeholders, which are your customers, regulators, communities, suppliers, need special focus from the social point of view. Regulatory compliance, BRSR, labor laws, POSH, etc. You will be aware. Yes, it needs to be taken care, but there are more to it in terms of the social aspect. How can it happen? So I'm not going to cover in detail the regulatory compliance because that is very specific, and there are labor compliance officers who take care of that part. But from the ESG point of view, both internal and external stakeholders, there are specific focus areas. First of that is human capital development. Human capital development is your human resources, and that's why this specific word as capital has been used. Human resources are not your resources only, they are your capital. You invest in your human resources and hence gain the return out of it. So you need to keep investing in your human resources, and hence it becomes a capital for you to be investing, and hence the returns are available to you. So keep investing in your human capital development is one area. Second is diversity and inclusion. Although there are various debates on this particular topic, but diversity and inclusion in your workforce or your employees is very, very important in driving sustainable initiatives and be able to balance your organizational workforce and taking decisions which are in good sense for the ESG point of view. HSE, basically human safety and well-being. Sorry, the well spelling is wrong, but it's well-being. Okay. Human and health and safety was always, EHS was the department initially started, environment, health and safety. Environment got detached from health and safety, and then it was started to be called as occupational health and safety. Now it has been again, including the wellness part. Now it is health, safety, and well-being. How can the well-being of your employees be taken care? And then largely human rights. Human rights was always a constitutional right for every Indian. We did not focus on developing or record keeping of human rights related policies or its compliance or its risks to the organization. But now BRSR also is talking very specifically on human rights. External stakeholders, compliance is something that we definitely have to take care. I'm not going in the details, but yes, there are specific requirements that need to be taken care. But your customers, there is a specific focus on customer engagement that is required. Social responsibility, how can the communities around you be able to get benefit out of the operations that you do through CSR activities? Suppliers, very, very important. These days, the CEO of any organization will also be very keen to not work back only with their own employees, but also build a sustainable supply chain. Sustainable supply chain is also now a focus area from BRSR point of view. BRSR has a specific requirement which mentions that the top 150 companies have to report on their value chain reporting, which means all the BRSR parameters which I just mentioned to you in the previous slide have to be recorded for your suppliers also. Yes, there are now a little different requirements on it, that only 2% of your suppliers or your customers who are in the top percentile are required to be reported as part of your value chain reporting. But the idea or the philosophy behind this particular requirement is that the value chain partners, which are your suppliers as well as your customers, have to take part in your sustainability initiatives, and hence the entire value chain of the organization becomes sustainable. With this small initiative today, I'm sure it will take a larger movement in future, taking the initiatives from grassroots of different manufacturing of raw materials to the intermediate manufacturing to the final consumption at the consumer end and the end of life. Everything as a value chain of the product will get covered in the sustainable consumption or responsible consumption point of view. Now, deep diving into specific topics, there are specific topics which I have just mentioned about. I will try to capture a few details on each of these aspects, starting with human capital development. As I said, human capital is a capital that you need to keep developing and have the pool of experts within your organization. The organization or the leader is only as good as its team. If you keep investing in the team, you will be able to reap the right benefits. Hence, socially inclusive and right human capital development with the right technical skill sets is also part of ESG. ESG is not only that you need to plant trees or you need to have green areas or you need to switch off your lights or you need to be energy conservation. There is the other part of ESG, which is the social part also, which takes care of the softer elements. These are those softer elements. Yes, the HR will be the most proficient department to be able to manage this particular aspect of ESG, but this also is part of ESG. So training and development is a continuous activity that is required to be invested within the organization skill set of the employees and the workers that are working. Second, human capital return on investment. Now, this is something that the organizations have started to explore, that if I'm investing X on my human capital, what is the return on investment? Yes, these are the certain KPIs that help you to make sure that you are rightly invested in your employees and be able to take the right benefits out of the investments on the human capital that you make. Your trainings that you provide, the career preferences that you provide, the policies that you are developing, making sure that there is succession planning in place, employment rating is happening. There is also third party assessments like best place to work or great place to work. All such positives help in building a good social culture within the organization. There is a survey which has been conducted, and the outcome of the survey was shocking. These days, the newer generation wants to work only with socially equitable organizations. The organizations which are better from the work culture point of view, from training, from human development point of view, are the most preferred organizations where the youth want to work. So, in order to attract the best talent, also you need to do these social human capital related work. This is definitely something that the HR does, but it is also part of the ESG. Diversity and inclusion. Now, this is also sometimes a little controversial, but this is something that has been talked for many years. That the diversity in your workforce is very important. But the most common um, disbelief or something that is not clear to everyone is the types of diversity and equity. Now, diversity and inclusion means that you should have different diversity in your team or in your workforce, which means the diversity can be on their age, the diversity can be on their different abilities, different skill set, gender, as well as their regional construct or the regional geographies. That is how a more inclusive and diverse workforce is something that you create. Normally everyone believes that diversity means gender diversity. No, that's not what diversity and inclusion means. There is also very important, which is equal opportunity in DEI, which is diversity, inclusion, and equity. How can equal opportunity be available to everyone within the organization and the seekers of opportunity to join the organization in an equitable form? So these are the aspects from the social point of view, very important. There are reporting requirements in this. So when an organization goes for sustainability reporting, they need to report what kind of diversity they have in their workforce. So these questions that I've asked have to also be reported by the organization to establish that the organization is socially equitable in their organization. So companies nowadays have the global D&I strategy, if the companies which are global in operation, they make a strategy, identify the work streams. We understand that there are certain places where women cannot work or women can work. So they make a particular strategy. How can they focus on DEI in different workplaces that they have? How can they build organizational culture? So how can the equitable opportunity be available to everyone? How can they attract talent and recruitment from the diversity point of view, that age, management level, their regional, there is BRSR question related to how much local employment that you're offering. That is also diversity. Local versus global. If you have a team which has both the combination, it is win-win for both. So yes, so that's how social, in the diversity and inclusion is important. Um, I don't think we'll be able to run the questions, but we will. I will be able to answer your questions later. But I had constructed this small questions to be able to make it interactive. Um, which of the following is not a benefit of diversity and inclusion? The answer is lower wages, which means that if there are lower wages, you will not going to get a benefit out of diversity and inclusion. It's a different topic. Equal opportunity is the benefit that you get out of diversity and inclusion. Improves quality of management, improves in productivity is what diversity and inclusion leads to. Next is occupational health and safety and well-being. Now, this is a historic topic. Every organization will have a EHS department, environment, health and safety, or OHS department, occupational health and safety. Here is one word that I'm specifically stressing is on well-being. Every organization has different ways to measure their health and safety related practices, but well-being is something that can be seen from cultural point of view. That are your employees suffering from a particular illness that is linked to the work that they do? Is there any mental stress that they are facing because of the social construct that we have? That is part of the well-being. Even office ergonomic study. Is the workplace designed properly to not impact their health? um, that is also part of the well-being part. There are labors to move certain products from one place to another. Have we deployed the right tools and techniques for them to do that particular task? That is also well-being. Okay. as a safe organization, a healthy organization needs to do a lot of strategic alignment, improvements in the performance, has to have a management system, and needs to inculcate the culture. It is now three things that are trending globally, that is extended responsibility, lower performance, and attraction and retention. Now, extended responsibility is something that everyone is talking about from environmental point of view and from social point of view also. Environment point of view is that if you are packaging your products in plastic, then you have to responsibly, as a producer, go back to the consumers and get that plastic back which you had used for your packaging. Is the extended responsibility of the producer. Similarly, extended responsibility from the social point of view, on the health safety point of view, is that you also need to take care of your contractual workers and subcontractors. Anyone and everyone working for you in direct or indirect manner, you take the extended responsibility. Lower performance. There are reputational and moral related things which are related to the um, wellness. So if you see that certain organizations are not performing better and their performance is continuously going down, that means that the wellness part of the organization is not being taken care. It is leading to increased operational cost, hence the performance is reducing. Attraction and retention, very very important. How can the well-being aspects be fostered in attracting your talent and retaining your talent? There are certain KPIs which require to be monitored from the KPI point of view, like lost time injury, lost frequency rate injury calculation for your employees and for your contractors, occupational illness, fatalities. These are KPIs that you can monitor, but you can have specific action plan on these broad topics. I will be touching upon each of the topic in social so that I can give you an idea. Any questions, anything that you want to ask in detail, please feel free to ask. I'll be able to answer. But in the brevity of time, I will try to keep the conversations on the topic and be able to cover what all things that have happened. I will also try to give some examples as and when required. Okay, now next topic is on human rights. Human rights, I'll give you an example. It started some years back when an outrage happened with the luxury brands. The luxury brands, the Louis Vuitton, Zara, Gucci, Armani, they used to go for manufacturing in Bangladesh. Once, what happened is that a particular building in Bangladesh, Dhaka, collapsed. And while investigating, it was understood that that building was structurally not safe. However, it was over occupied and was making luxury goods for these luxury brands globally. So a global outrage started that how can these global manufacture or brands not see the human rights related aspects of or exploitation of the labor in the developing countries where they are getting their goods manufactured. So they did a lot of research, and then they understood that yes, um, they had to do this due diligence before giving the work to contract manufacturing in these developing countries, and they were penalized also. But the point that I want to make over here is human rights is a significant area of risk if not dealt with properly. There are traditional norms that are there in our country to at least control the wages, the child labor practices, forced labor or compulsory labor, community well-being, freedom of association. There um, rules also on specific areas. But as a company, if you are a responsible organization, you need to have your particular human rights related point of view, or your own policy. From the organization point of view, what is your stand on freedom of association? Freedom of association is largely from the union's point of view, labor union point of view. Okay, then protection against discrimination. What is your view? What is your organization standard? How will you manage what is human rights for you, and how will you manage human rights related violations in your organization? Once that is clarified, the in the employees or the contract workers, anyone and everyone who is getting associated to organization, feel secured that here my rights are not going to be compromised. The organization has their code of conduct which is very clearly specifying how are they going to work on human rights. These illustrative areas that I have tried to just highlight is just to give you an idea that human rights is everything. It is from just another example if I can give, the behavior of your security personnel who is guarding your office or your industrial premises. If he is being visited by an external person, and that or a laborer who has not got the right approvals, or the gate pass or the entry is not approved, and if that security personnel abuses that particular visitor or assaults him or her, is something that is a human right violation. Everyone understands that he cannot be treated in that particular manner. But as an organization, what is the procedure that is there in place to be able to understand such situations, to record such situations, to manage that such situations, make sure that it does not happen, right trainings are given. If it happens, what is the escalation metrics, who is the responsible person to take decision and action against such incidents, is something that the human rights in from the social point of view talks about. So there are global frameworks that specifically talk about human rights. There is UNGP, which is a globally recognized framework, um, which specifically identifies the areas which organization should focus on from the human rights point of view. There is also International Labor Organization publication on human rights that also specifically identifies the areas which human rights should be specifically focusing on. There are DJSI related questionnaires. DJSI is a rating framework on organizations' ESG performance. They also have specific requirements on human rights. Our local SEBI requirement on BRSR also specifically covers on BRS on human rights. So up till BRSR was launched, human rights was a subject that was dealt in different subjects. As one particular subject consolidating into BRSR is the first move in India where these aspects are being asked to record and also report. So um, this is an most upcoming subject. Yes, there are human rights related practices by different organizations already in place, but as a good organization, the organizations need to have practice on human right due diligence. Is the human rights practices that you have tried to implement in the organization having the right impact or not, is something that the due diligence will give you the report on. Um, from the implementation point of view, from system or processes related point of view, how can the companies engage in better human rights practices is what these human rights due diligence or risk assessment exercise will clarify for the organization. I'll skip these questions for now. um, Next topic is on customer engagement. Now customer engagement is something that is very very important for a successful organization. But how is it important from ESG point of view? As I said, social in ESG is covering all the relationships that you are into: the relationship with your employees, the relationship with your customers, relationship with your vendor value chain partners. And relationship means if your customers are engaged with you, that means you are able to give them what they want. From the marketing and product sustainability point of view also, this is an important element. Sustainability is about how can your organization sustain, how can your product sustain, how can you help in the larger cause of sustainability, and customer engagement is an important element in it. So customer centric approach is very very important from customer engagement point of view. Are you engaged with your customer? Are you taking the right feedback? Do you understand their requirements? And are you actually adopting to the customer requirements and hence giving back what they want? Is also part of sustainability. Customer life cycles, basically, how proactive are they in understanding the ESG aspects of the product? So which means if they have purchased a particular product from you, have you communicated the right ESG attributes of that particular product to the customer? How to use it safely, how to make sure that once you have used the product, how to dispose it, is also something that you need to educate your customer. You need to tell your customer, if there is a problem in the product, come back to us, we will be able to help you on that. So it's communication, it's engagement, it's engagement is something that is very very important from customer centricity point of view, and this leads to your sustainable business. Then comes social responsibility. Now social responsibility as a topic has been very well uh, covered as the CSR Act. So I will try to focus on that particular act from the social responsibility point of view, that how can the organization be socially more responsible for the communities that are around or being impacted by your manufacturing or by your organization activities. So normally the CSR Act rule applies to these three categories. If your net worth is more than 500 crores, revenue is more than 1000 crores, or you have profit of more than 5 crores. So largely the good set of companies are covered as part of these requirements, and the requirement says that you need to spend 2% of your average profit on this particular activity. Now CSR activities are not any activity that are directly benefiting to the organization. They are activities that you do for the betterment of the community. So there are specific regulations that are there to make sure that those activities are adopted in the particular fashion. How can the community be benefited? So there is a sequential method that needs to be adopted. CSR funding is not to fund a particular trust only, or a particular religious place, or a particular activity, or a community activity. No, if CSR funds are used strategically, it can create larger impacts. And nowadays, you also have to measure your impacts if the programs are larger. Okay. What do I mean to say is, if CSR is something that is obligatory, you have to spend already. Why don't you spend it strategically? Strategically, not to benefit the business, but strategically to increase its impact, strategically to first understand what is the need of the community. If the community does not require a particular initiative, but you keep doing that initiative, there is no impact on the community. They are not requiring that particular initiative, but still you have done it just for the sake of it, or you, because you need to spend money, you have just spent it. That will not be giving any larger impact to the community. So first, any CSR activity that you pick up, do a need assessment. Need assessment will give you the results that which are the five or three specific areas which the community requires support on. Areas can be very, very specific. I can give you some examples. In a community, there is water available, there is water coming to their home every day through water supply system. But when you do the community need assessment, you might get to know that the water has iodine infestation, or it is not purified, or it is not treated well. Hence, your effort should not be in increasing or working on the supply side, but then your intervention will be on the treatment side. That let's support the community if a treatment facility can be created. If the school is already functional and you decide to paint the school, instead of that, there is a larger pressing requirement to have proper wash facilities in the school. Instead of spending on coloring or whitewashing the school premises, that equivalent money can be spent in wash related practices, or making community watersheds. So that's how need assessment plays a significant role in making sure that the spend is in the right manner. Coming to sustainable supply chain, very, very important, very, very important. And please make a note that this is the most important topic today in sustainable operation point of view. Any organization, if does not focus on sustainable supply chain, will lose its market in near future. And why? Because the organization that you are running has certain inputs that is required, be it the raw materials, be it certain labor requirements, anything and everything related to making your factory run is being supplied by your supply chain. If you do not work back with your supply chain in making them sustainable, tomorrow your business is at risk. If you are taking a particular commitment or your customer is asking for a particular commitment, you can do certain activities, but certain activities have to be done by your suppliers also. And if you have not taken them into the sustainability loop, they will lose the business. And eventually, your cost of manufacturing will also be impacted. Hence, it is very, very important that you first make your house in order, which is implement these initiatives within your organization, and then work back with your suppliers. Make good suppliers or for you who can sustain with you. I'm not asking that you associate with them in different ways, but build on the capacity. There are various ways to do it. Sustainable supply chain has aspects on reward and recognition. Sustainable supply chain has aspects related to awareness and capacity building. Has aspects related to collective and constructive building. Have aspects related to R&D. You can do wonders with your supply chain. And if you control your supply chain better and make it sustainable, you are going to make sure that your business is sustainable. The risk is minimized, and hence sustainable supply chain is very, very important. I'll give you an example. One of the um, tube manufacturing company, tube of say your Colgate or your face cream, they make there can be a company making tubes. That company is taking the plastic granules from a manufacturer of a petrochemical. They are also taking certain admixtures from a chemical company. They're taking certain um, uh, colors from dyes and color manufacturing company, and finally making the product. If that company customer, say that is a Colgate of the world or any Unilever of the world, ask for a sustainable packaging for their particular product. So what entire value chain that they have set already for the manufacturing will go for a toss because they were not ready to understand the sustainable product requirement of the client. So the client, for them, it is easy to switch from one vendor to another to be able to get that product for that particular product requirement. But you will lose your business in the long run. So it is very, very important that you understand the value chain, you understand the market, you keep on investing in sustainable products, keep on building sustainable products, and also your value chain partners. So in short, what I was trying to say is that sustainable value chain is very, very important, and there are a lot of studies also very specifically focusing on that. Today, the CEOs are specifically focusing on constructing a responsible supply chain. There are other things that they need to do, but responsible supply chain is very, very important. It gives you security of sustainable products. It gives you security on how can the products be more and more sustainable, and you be able to manage the service line that you are into. If you are into a research organization or you are into a research space, you need to be in the market to understand how can the product designs be more and more sustainable, leading to circular business models. Circular business models are how can the waste become an input for another organization, and you reduce your dependency on the virgin raw material, and hence the stress on the material consumption on the from the natural resources point of view reduces. Sorry, I'm going to the environmental side, but that's how the CEO priorities are today, and of that, responsible supply chain is very, very important. If you see the drivers for sustainable supply chain, it is if there are extreme weather events, it has a large consequence on your supply chain. If there is cyber attacks, economic downturn, disrupted social supply chain for critical goods and services, has very, very significant impact on your organization. How can you do or deal with it? technological adaptation. You need to have an advanced system to make sure IoT or blockchain related automation is included, where you can manage your supply chain better. Resource optimization. How can the way the consumption be reduced on the virgin raw material to newer materials substitution, or how can the reduction in the energy be possible with better optimized materials in place? Economic resilience and global competitiveness. Now, um, all of this is something that you understand well, but the question is, why will the supplier work with you or work with you on the sustainability initiative? Very, very important. There is no direct benefit for the supplier in being sustainable from the short gain point of view. Long term, I've already explained that you might lose the larger picture, or the bigger pie that is for you in the long term. But short term, the companies need to recognize and reward their suppliers if they are aligning with the sustainability initiatives of the company. If the contract manufacturer comes up and tells that I will manufacture the product for you in these using these sustainability parameters, energy efficiency will be this much, water consumption will be this much, I will make sure that social practices are aligned, I will have human rights related compliances, I will have this, that, all as per your requirement. What is the advantage that you pass to me? Okay, so if the company recognizes their vendors and gives them rewards and recognition, the sustainable supply chain comes into the play, and hence makes a cohesive and harmonious an ecosystem that supports each other. So this is something that the large organizations are already doing, have worked with several conglomerates who have devised their rewards and recognition programs. They want to identify ESG compliant suppliers. They might call them green suppliers, some might call them 5-star suppliers, some might call them platinum suppliers. They are making their own criterias basis their own sustainability goals and initiatives and the market trends that they are seeing, and want to classify their suppliers into green suppliers and non-green suppliers. The future is in the green supplier. Every supplier will then try to be in that category so that they are getting the work from that particular band of the requirements. Yes, it is catching up. Not necessary that every supplier will be a green supplier, but if there is an incentive attached, they will try to be in that particular category, and hence the value chain related sustainability is driven from this particular initiative. Key advantages: regulatory requirements are met. Always your suppliers are compliant, and hence your disruptions are lesser and lesser. ESG standards and ratings are met. Hence, whatever ratings and standards that you are following for yourself, your vendors will also be following, and hence it becomes a sustainable ecosystem. Improved supply chain sustainability. We've already discussed. Risk is lower, hence your risk is managed. Transparency increases. Complexity in the value chain is also reduced because you are able to control the value chain in a better way. Cost is controlled because the vendor is aligned with your philosophy and principles, and hence the cost is also in control. Sorry, supplier convenience or I can say their engagement is increased, and hence they are more comfortable engaging with the same vendor, with the same organization, and hence you can get a stronger supplier ecosystem created for yourself, and you can manage the metrics and compliance. Now, this is one last thing that I want to focus on from sustainable supply chain point of view, is on the BRSR compliance. The top 250 companies today have to prepare a value chain reporting as part of their annual report. Value chain reporting means from the customers as well as your suppliers and your customers together. Basically, the upstream and the downstream side anyone and everyone contributing more than 2% of the total value chain related spend and revenue, you will have to take that party and get their sustainability performance reported as part of your annual report. So you need to gather the information related to BRSR core parameters, which I had mentioned in the initial slides, for their performance in and report it as part of your annual report performance. The the significance is that this will give you an opportunity from the regulatory point of view to engage with them, to get their sustainability performance, report it as part of your performance, analyze their performance, and uh, strike a conversation to be able to work on certain parameters which are mutually beneficial to both. Also ensure regulatory compliance. So this gives you a strategic opportunity as well as regulatory compliance. Now, up till now, I was trying to focus on different topics of sustainability in social aspect in the ESG from the sustainability point of view. Um, Now, let's understand why S is required. Why is the social parameter required? It is because of various reasons, which is, driving the companies in making the social part very, very important from the ESG compliance point of view. After the pandemic, the most important learning that everyone has got is the social injustice and welfare practices. At any point in time, if there are social welfare related implications or well-being related implications, the workplaces are impacted significantly. So the expectation after pandemic of the employees have changed. So socially, the organizations have to be more equitable. Definitely after the pandemic, that dynamics have changed. Conscious consumption. After a lot of studies have come out which specifically says that as an organization, or not as an organization, actually at as a responsible citizen of the planet, how much consumption you are eligible to consume responsibly so that you leave the other resources for your future generations to come. There are studies done by UNFCCC. There are studies which are available in the public domain. At a point in time, every year, we overshoot the consumption versus the available resources for that particular year. And if we continue to do, by next 100 years, we will need 5 times of our earth that we have today, which means that the way we are consuming, we are going to deplete our natural resources in a very short time. And if that happens, we will have to then move to other sources of resources, which is today a gray area. We don't know how will that happen. So the consumption has to be responsible. Now, responsible consumption means what? You need to manufacture a particular product, you need to be in the market, you need to give the services that are required by your customers, you need to innovate. In order to be compliant or be in the market, you need to innovate, find or put resources in research and development, find alternate materials, find materials which can be replaced by the virgin raw materials, find ways in which you can recycle, upcycle, or make multiple use of the products that you are manufacturing, so that you don't need to make newer products every time. There is also very, very important increase in regulatory requirements. Because the regulatory requirements are changing, um, the global forums are recognizing it more and more and are giving more and more importance, but it is going to increase more. I'll give you an example. there is requirement related to CBAM. CBAM is Carbon Border Adjustment Mechanism. It is going to be effective from 2026 in the European region, where what they are saying is that any product that comes to Europe has to be will be uh, where carbon tax will be levied on that particular product. Any product, if its embodied carbon is not neutralized, there will be an additional carbon tax that will be levied on that particular product before it is being available in the European market, which means that any product that they are manufacturing outside the European region has to be manufactured same as they would have manufactured in the European region, not only from the quality perspective, but from environmental compliance perspective, social perspective, governance perspective, so that their product's footprint is near zero in terms of the environmental and social impacts. Otherwise, if not, they will put a tax on it. And if they put a tax, you are not competitive in the market, and hence you lose the market, and hence you are forced to comply with the regulations if you have to be in the European market. Such regulations will come in different regions of the world. Such regulations are being talked about by different regions of the world. Today, there is a different view which the US government has taken, but trust me, it is not for the for all the years. Different leadership has a different view, but ESG has been something that is centric to the world economics. It will happen in some point in time that the regulations will change in the US as well, and all the regulations which were enforced earlier will come back. Sustainable supply chain and transparent demands and consequences on the supplies were very, very important after the COVID-19 affected communities were seen. So, socially, the global dynamics have changed and different impacts are coming into place from different point of views. Two very known examples I am just bringing to your notice. These are publicly available. You can search them on Google. Because of social conflict, the industry had an impact. Tata Motors originally had 1,000 acres of land near Kolkata, in the West Bengal region. Were planning to start their Tata Nano plant in that region, but then because of the social unrest that the communities had protested, the the entire plan had to be relocated to Sanand in Gujarat. Okay, it is just to give you a point of view that social unrest can lead to significant business disruptions. Next is the L&T recent controversy that had happened when its chairman had publicly stated that 90 hours a week is also acceptable, which created a lot of inertia with their workforce and a lot of agitation on the wellness part of the employees and the culture that the organization had. So it had a very significant impact on employee retention, on their yeah, social parameters for the company. So what I'm trying to say is that the social parameters play a significant role from the perception of the organization and how they are uh, you know eh, being resilient from their business continuity point of view. Now, very, very important. Now, this is something that I have been advocating largely to all the organizations, and I'm taking the opportunity to advocate it here as well, which is on the culture development. Long time ago, there was a debate on safe operations and safe culture or safety culture, which was then recalibrated as behavioral based safety. The idea was that even if you implement safe operations or safe practices within the organization, the incidents were happening. It was because of the lack of behavior, safety behavior within the workers, primarily linked to the culture of the organization. Is the culture of the organization promoting safety or not? Sim- Similarly, ESG culture development is important. To socially uplift your organization, ESG culture development is very, very important. Now, this means that ESG is something that your everyone as part of your organization, be it your internal or your external stakeholders, have to imbibe that in their culture. In the previous slides, we have also understood that ESG is everyone's responsibility. All the departments are responsible for ESG. So if it is not imbibed in the ethos of the organization, or if it is not culturally adopted in the organization, it will not happen. People will just take it up as an additional responsibility, do one or two intervention to be able to report back to the sustainability committee and give them some KPIs, and it's done. But its larger cause of sustainable development, sustainable organization, responsible organization is not being met because culturally it is not being practiced. In order to practice it from the culture point of view, you need to build capacity. Senior leadership should be engaged. Culture enhancement through town halls, and basically your families and communities need to be involved, and build a reward and recognition culture. Focus on these four things, your ESG related culture within the organization will improve, and you will get results of employees and workers coming to you and tell and automatically doing activities which are aligned to the ESG goals of the organization or ESG promises of the organization. So I'm advocating this particular philosophy in all the organizations, and I'm re-emphasizing that culture development is something that every organization has to focus on. And once the culture is developed or inbuilt, imbibed into the ethos of the organization, ESG activities, ESG implementation, ESG interventions, everything will happen on a automated basis because your organization's culture has recognized ESG's importance, has recognized the ESG related impacts, and hence it will automatically function. So there has to be a focused approach in building the ESG culture of the organization. Relevance of S in ESG for ICAI members, which is the chartered accountants. Now, as largely the audience here today is chartered accountants, as chartered accountants, you are subject to do audits of the financial performance of the company. But the non-financial performance, which is linked with BRSR, business responsibility and sustainability reporting, also is something that you can see because you will be also signing off on the annual reports of the company. Signing the annual reports of the company, you need to see the employee well-being, gender diversity and POSH, inclusive development and community development related parameters which are part of the BRSR. Not necessary that you have to sign off on these parameters, but you need to ask right questions to be able to understand if there are systems and processes in place, because non-financial assurance can is something that is that requires specific skill set of ESG professional to review and assess each of the parameters or KPIs. But as chartered accountants, you need to ask the right questions so that you understand how are they following or managing these aspects which are from the BRSR point of view. The key areas are from the assurance, as I said, from the BRSR point of view, social risk and exposure of social issues, and audit implications which are related to the social issues. So if there are any financial implications because of the social issues, is something that you can cover as part of your review. You can also identify if there are any social risks and understand what is the risk management plan for the company from the social point of view. So these are the key two, three line items which very specifically you can focus from the charter from your proficiency point of view. But from the ESG point of view, as I mentioned, social aspect is something that is an important subject, covers a large spectrum of stakeholders, has larger and significant impacts on the organization's sustainable operations. And from the social compliance point of view, there are rules and regulations from the government related to labor, related to POSH, child labor, the reporting requirements related from the BRSR. All of these cover the social aspect in a detailed form. Yes, the different departments responsible for each of the parameter will have to play a significant role in implementing these social parameters into the organizational ethos. These are the content slides that I wanted to talk about and explain the concept of social in ESG. I hope I was able to cover all the aspects, but I'm sure there will be certain questions that you will have, certain points that you would want to raise. I think this is now the right opportunity for us to deliberate and in deep dive into the question answers.
So, can I go ahead with the questions?
Please.
Yeah. The first question is, how does social impact reporting tie into financial reporting, and can it influence valuation?
Good question. Thank you. Thank you for asking the question. So, social impact report is largely related to the impacts the social activities are creating. These impacts can be from the community impact point of view. These impact can be from the long-term benefit point of view to the community, but not directly linked with the financial impact. Financial reviews are only required in these studies from the right spend point of view, if it is spent in the right activity that has been envisaged or not.
The second question is, how can small and medium enterprises adopt social impact frameworks with high cost or complex tools?
Small organizations, sorry, I'm not able to get the question.
How can small and medium enterprises adopt social impact frameworks without high cost or complex tools?
See, today in the world of AI and open tools that are available, you can use tools to manage or measure your social impacts. But small organizations or large organizations not have any specific impact on the impact of the project. It may have an impact on the scale of the work that you do, but the impacts will be in line with the scale that you adopt. If it's a medium organization, then you will pick up opportunities and projects that are as per the requirements of the organization. If it's a large organization, then definitely the impacts and projects will be at a larger scale, and hence the impact will be at a large scale, but it does not have any barring impact related to being a smaller organization or a larger organization.
The third question is, how can one choose between SROI, theory of change, or other models for measuring impact?
Measuring impact is an important area which not all organizations adopt. The impacts can be measured through the KPIs that you define for yourself on the programs that you have designed. SROI is a method to assign a financial value in terms of the return that you are able to generate from the social projects that you are running, but not necessary that always your SROI gives you the right value. But SROI gives you good confidence that the projects that you are doing are impacting the communities in the right manner. So SROI is the method that I would recommend that you should adopt, so that you can gain more confidence in terms of the real impacts that are happening on the society point of view or community point of view.
The fourth question is, what's the recommended way to identify and prioritize stakeholders for social impact assessments?
Right method to identify the right the stakeholders. So stakeholders are your beneficiaries of the program. These stakeholders have to be are identified as part of your program construct as well, and basis the construct, any and every stakeholder who is part of the impact of the program is part of the and if your question is related to the sample size, then the sample has to be in accordance to the right confidence level that you are able to get, and you can take any sampling method to be able to determine your samples that you want to do for this impact assessment studies.
The fifth question is, how is technology, AI or data analytics being used in improving social impact tracking?
Absolutely, it's a very interesting question. Today, the AI is being used in almost all the kind of work that we are doing. And in social impacts, what I have seen is the organizations use the tool to predict interventions. If they are investing X in this particular social intervention, the impact from their social return point of view, from the social upliftment point of view, KPIs can be predicted using the AI models with the data that has been gathered from the past. Say, for instance, I'm taking an example of water harvesting. If the slope of the terrain is 2% to say 5%, the average water harvesting potential is X. If the slope is more than 5%, the average water harvesting potential is Y, versus the investment. If the slope is between 1 to 5%, the investment is X, versus the higher the slope, what is the cost. So the AI models will be able to do these predictive analytics using the past data and give the right result, to be able to take the right decision, that if they want the maximum benefit or the maximum impact of a particular intervention, this is the right place and this is the right investment for it.
Sir, are you going to take this session ahead or it is only the questions?
Now only the questions. Yeah.
Okay. The next question, what are the emerging trends in social impact reporting that professionals should be aware of?
What are the emerging trends? So emerging trends are on assurance. The social impact related studies are always self certified, or the studies are done by the organization and they're published on the self capacity, but the trend is on its assurance also. How can that data be assured and be readily available for third party verification?
How should companies prioritize different stakeholder groups in social impact measurement?
Okay, the question, see, the party is related to social impact, so all the questions are coming from that point of view. Okay, so how can you prioritize stakeholders?
Yes.
Is that the question?
How should companies prioritize different stakeholder groups in social impact measurement?
Social impact assessment, if you have to prioritize stakeholders, it is on the different lens of impacts that you need to see. What is the scale of the impact that this particular stakeholder is responsible for? The regional construct, if the program is into multiple regions, then the stakeholder sample has to also be from the different regions that you have. If there are multiple interventions, then the stakeholder group has to have representation of all the types of interventions that you are doing. Then the outliers, if there is any outlier in terms of um, giving reasonably higher impact or reasonably lower impact, has to be part of the stakeholder consultation group.
What does materiality mean in the context of social in ESG and how it is determined?
Absolutely, very, very important question. And the entire discussion on social part, when I started, it is on what is material for the organization, and I had shown a slide where E, S, and G were mentioned. In that activity, the materiality is an activity that needs to be undertaken to understand the impacts of each of the material topic on the organization. So there are two types of materiality being practiced these days: impact materiality and double materiality. The impact on the organization and impact by the organization. Both the ways, the materiality from the social point of view are the areas in which the organization, from the social, the topics that I've discussed, how can that impact the organization has to be determined. So it is a consultative approach where internal and external stakeholders are consulted. Your senior management stakeholders are also involved, and then basis the inputs from everyone, the materiality is finalized.
Can you explain the difference between compliance based social reporting and impact driven reporting?
Social compliance driven social reporting is largely the report which is required to comply with the norms that are set, for the larger programs. However, impact based reporting does not restrict you to only do it for larger programs. You can do impact based assessments for all the type of programs that you're running, and you also do it at an organization level. As an organization, which are the areas that you're focusing on from the social impact point of view, and how are you performing on it.
How does social return on investment SROI help companies measure the effectiveness of their social programs?
Very important question. Not necessary that SROI will give the right result of your program's effectiveness, but it gives an idea of the way in which the programs are being run. If the SROI is giving higher or good value, good return, that means that the programs are scalable, but that does not mean that that program has not given the right impacts, because the community's need would have been defined in a particular manner, and hence the program uh, is being done in a particular way. As I said, community related impacts have to be driven by the need assessment and not by the compulsion of the activity that you want to do. Sometimes the requirement of the community is X, and hence that impact will only be within that X range when you are doing with the community need. That does not mean that because the impact is not higher, the SROI, because the SROI will not be giving a good number, you will say that it is not a significant impact program. Impact programs are to be seen from the community need point of view also.
What are effective ways to capture community feedback or qualitative data for social impact reporting?
So there are two ways these days. One is primary source of information, largely being collected from samples that are identified through question and answers, and doing field assessments, and doing concentrated discussions with them, or group discussions. And second way is to gather information through secondary sources.
How do we align CSR initiatives with broader social impact measurement frameworks?
There is a framework called as OECD framework, which you can refer for aligning your CSR related activities with the social impact frameworks.
What are basic steps can a small or medium enterprise take to start measuring its social impact, especially with limited resources? Or, as consultants, how can we guide small businesses that wish to understand and report their social impact?
I think I've answered this question already. It was asked in a different way already.
What are the first steps a chartered accountant or finance professional can take to start working in the field of social impact measurement and reporting?
As a chartered accountant, you need to build a team who understand the social parameters. There are qualifications also aligned with the social practices. As a chartered accountant, what you can do is uh, you can ask the companies to on the CSR spends that they have. You can ask the companies on the strategies that are in place, and build a team if you want to help them in doing social impact related assessments with professionals who understand this subject.
Are there any essential resources, framework, or skills that a newcomer should focus on when starting their journey in social impact reporting?
Skill set are all on the aspects that I have discussed. So you need to understand the processes and methodologies. How can the CSR be strategized? CSR impacts can be maximized, and um, understanding the regional construct. There are specific blocks that are identified by the government where they want you to focus on the special blocks that they call. What are how can you do the need assessment? What are the aspects that you need to understand from the impact KPI point of view, and then the methods and processes you need to define to capture that information.
Now we'll move forward with vote of thanks. Good afternoon, everyone. On behalf of Sustainability Reporting Standards Board of I extend my sincere gratitude to each of you for joining us today for the enlightening webinar on social impact measurement and reporting, S in ESG. Your participation has been instrumental in making today's session a success. I want to express a special thank you to our esteemed speaker, Mr. Najid Narmawala, for his invaluable insights into social impact measurement within the ESG framework. His expertise has shed light on the crucial role of transparency and accountability in driving sustainable social practices. Today's discussions have significantly deepened our understanding of how effective social impact measurement can foster ethical business conduct and resilience in a dynamic global environment. It is evident that robust practices in this realm are essential for organizations committed to sustainable development. We invite all participants to join us for our upcoming webinar scheduled for Thursday from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m., where we will continue exploring cutting edge topics in sustainability reporting and best practices. Once again, thank you for your active engagement and thoughtful contributions. Your dedication to advancing sustainable practices is invaluable, and we look forward to your continued involvement in our ongoing initiatives as we collectively pave the way towards a more sustainable and resilient future. Thank you.
Thank you.
Tech support, go offline. Yes. Thank you.